The biggest issue with the full release of Wyll is not his bland goodness or even his lack of content, it's his lack of agency. When it comes to the big choice for every single other character's personal quest, the player has the option to defer to the character to make their own decision. Yes, that decision is ultimately based on your approval score with the character and how you've played the game so far, but optically it is their choice. Wyll doesn't get that choice in the full release. When Mizora shows up to bargain with him in Act 3, it's really the player that she's bargaining with. She sort of unceremoniously pops up in camp to offer Wyll a way to break his contract out of nowhere. She tells him that if he decides to break his pact, his father will die in prison, but if Wyll stays bound to Mizora, then she'll help keep his father safe. You'd think since this is literally the crux of his entire arc, that full release Wyll would have something to say about this, but he just kind of calls Mizora an asshole and then waits for the player to give him direction. Plus, the scene itself is just kind of bad. Like, Mizora popping up at camp feels so ham-fisted and out of left field. The effects aren't all that impressive, one of her devil sisters seems to just be miming the words to their chant without actually saying anything. There's no real music, even the direction of the scene feels haphazard. Like, the camera angles are incredibly uninspired for such an important moment. And the whole thing is undermined even further because if Wyll chooses to break his pact, or if the player chooses for Wyll to break his pact, then he can still go and save his father. He can still go to the Iron Throne and save his father and get the best of both worlds, which, like, totally undercuts the sacrifice that he's supposedly making here. There would be no pulled punches in my reimagined version of Wyll's story. If he chooses to end his pact during the Iron Throne mission, then it ends right then and there. None of that, oh, in 6 months after the events of the game unfold, I'll take away your powers nonsense. No, sir! We're doing this the real way. Wyll would make an impassioned speech about the people of Baldur's Gate, the city he loves, and how he learned that he never needed Mizora in the first place. He only needed the strength of himself and his people to be the Blade of Frontiers. And after a, like, magical girl transformation scene, he'd fully respec into an Oath of the Crown or Oath of Devotion paladin, and the player would have to navigate an entirely new skill bar for the duration of that mission. That's a big reason why I think the pact-breaking moment should be set in the Iron Throne. It's one of the most high-pressure situations in the entire game, so adding a character's story moment into the mix, I think that would really evoke the magic and chaos of a real D&D campaign, and it would feel appropriately weighty when compared to the other companion story quests. But I also think that's, like, not feasible from a design standpoint, so maybe we break the pact and he's still a warlock for the mission, and then that night Mizora comes to camp and then we do like a Withers style respec where he's locked out of choosing the warlock class. I can compromise.